What's up guys, Phoenix here. This video is going to be yet another Metalfoes Zing combo tutorial video, the third installment of these videos that I've been making. There really are just multiple different ways that you can actually perform combos with this deck, as well as just multiple different outcomes that you can achieve based off what your starting resources were. Now this one is going to be another 4-card combo, but this one is going to require a little bit of specificity, but it does yield you with 4 negates at the end of your turn. So it's a 4-card combo that generates 4 negations in the form of Void Ogre Dragon, Herald of the Arclight, Titanic Galaxy, and a Search Zephyr Divine Strike. And like I said, it's only a 4-card combo, but it does require a tiny bit of specifics. The first that you're going to need is obviously your 1 Metalfoe scale. You're going to need any 2 Zing cards. It doesn't matter what they are, as long as one of them is a normal summonable monster that's one of your floaters. And then you're going to need Chiwen in your hand. We're going to start branching into the capabilities of what you're able to do when you actually draw the Chiwen, because Chiwen floating back for free is actually just a huge resource for you. And if I remember correctly, this particular combo ends with, I can't remember if it ends with either 7 or 8 cards, or I might be thinking of a completely different one in general, but starting with your 4 combo pieces, you do yield some form of plus, and then you also just generate them into negations. So that's honestly the key thing here. Now, the one other thing that you are going to need for this combo to actually be, performable in its entirety is going to be just your other card in hand. Since you are making Void Ogre Dragon, is going to have to be a card that you can set. So it can be either like a brick in the form of Metalfoes Fusion. It could be another copy of Zing Path. You could have drawn a Zephyr Divine Strike as well if you play multiples. There are multiple different things that can contribute to this, but the last card in your hand does have to be either another Metalfoes scale or a card that can be set onto the board. I say another Metalfoes scale because the other Metalfoes scale would obviously just give you an access point to set a card from your deck to the field in the form of like Metalfoes Fusion. But basically, this card couldn't matter less what it is, and we're just going to jump into how this starts. Now, basically, like I said, you're going to be making Void Ogre, Herald of the Arclight, Titanic Galaxy, and having a Zephyr Divine Strike down. So, starts the same way as they all do. Activate your Metalfoes scale in the Pendulum Zone, summon whatever monster you have, and then pop it to set a Metalfoes combination. So you're going to set Metalfoes combination, and then your monster, whatever it was, is going to trigger and float itself down into Jiao-2. Now, the thing with this combo specifically is because you are going to be ending with Void Ogre Dragon, if you had 2 Zing cards and a Zing Path, like ideally, I typically find myself just setting the Zing Path in any other combo string where you summon where you don't summon Void Ogre. You just play the path right away to get extra cards. But that's one of the reasons I really don't like making Void Ogre in these combo strings, because while it is a very solid body and it is a very solid negation, like, the thing is that it still just requires you to play the entire rest of your game in a very specific way with no cards in hand in order to be able to use its effect, and that's something I really don't like. So that's something to note. Like, if these 2 cards were Zing cards, I would probably like set the Zing Path just to clear my hand, and then the next turn you can start your turn with Zing Path. All these play strings are very valuable. But anyway, so once your Jiao-2 is summoned, you're obviously going to discard your 2 Zing cards, and you're going to summon your Zings out of your deck in the form of Zephyr Neo. And then the other card doesn't matter. I usually just go for BN, just because it's just, the safest one to get. Especially like if Swanee was already sent to grave, just because like it just allows a little bit of variety. This combo is actually a little bit easier to do if you run Zephrexy, but I think that card is a brick, so I actually don't run it in my build because I just don't I don't like what it provides for the deck. But it is completely possible to do without Zephrexy, so there is that as well to remember. But from here, you're gonna do your standard, just going into Boxias and just gaining advantage off of the Boxias. Now, off your first Boxia, you're going to target your Metalfoes combination, and you're going to target Jiao-2 and Grave. So you pop the combination and special summon Jiao-2. Combination is going to trigger, and it is going to search for an opposite scale of whatever you have. Whatever you're going to be setting your pendulum scale up for, you just want the opposite scale. So in this case, Volflame. So from here, play Volflame in your scale, and then use Volflame to target your BN to destroy it, and then also set another copy of Metalfoes combination. That's another reason why I put the Fusion as the just random other card in hand, is that even if you draw Fusion or combination as your 5th card for the combo to clear your hand out and be a settable, it's very easy for you to just still do the combo because it only requires you to use 2 Metalfoes scales. and you just set whichever one you're missing. And if you drew the combination, obviously you just pop it off after you set it, and then you set fusion instead, off of your Metalfoes pendulum effects. But carrying on, so you set combination to your field off of the Volflame that was destroying BN, and then the BN is going to trigger, and then you're also going to trigger your Chiwen here. So Chiwen special summons, and then you get your Zephyr out of the deck. So Chiwen will banish itself when it leaves the board. Perfectly fine. Nothing that we're too terribly worried about, because that's basically its entire purpose. You can also, a little noteworthy thing is that you can make Omega in this combo instead of Void Ogre Dragon. And that honestly also functions as a negation, because you could like just use it to put Chiwen back, and then during your opponent's turn you take a card out of their hand, and like that's something that kind of sort of works in the same way. It just depends on what your hand is, basically. If the last card in your hand isn't a settable card, then you could just make Cypher Lord Omega and go from there. Or if you just want to activate Path or something like that, or if you resolved Pot of Desires earlier in the turn and you have cards, 1 that you want to put back, or 2 if you have cards that that you can't set because you just got a +1 and you can't clear your hand out. Like it's all relative. You're able to mold your ending board in any way, shape, or form that you want, but typically Void Ogre Dragon is going to be what you want to go for, because it is something that can negate cards rather than just Cypher and Lord Omega just being, oh, I'm going to blink out and I'm going to come back, and that card is something your opponent still has access to, but you are still just able to poke with Cypher and Lord Omega. And also Void Ogre Dragon is a little bit bigger, but that shouldn't be what's relevant out of that sentence. But anyway, continuing on, you summon your second Boxia off of the Jiaotu and the Zephyr. Zephyr is summoned off the BN, which was triggered off of setting combination from deck off of your Volflame, in case you are missing where we currently are. But then you use the second Boxia, target this combination, and destroy it again, and you're going to use that to bring back the Jiaotu, as per typical nonsense. And then this combination is actually going to search something extremely specific. It's going to search Metalfoes Silvered, and this is why the combo can work without Zephyraxi. If you had Zephyraxi in the deck, you wouldn't have to do this step. You'd actually just be able to set Fusion straight from the deck, and then potentially get a draw, or you'd be able to add a different card, do whatever, because Zephyraxi would be in your Pendulum extra deck at this point, and you'd be able to Pendulum summon it. And it would be a free level 3 that you could use to go into Herald of the Arclight with your Chiwen. But because I don't play Zephyraxi, because again, I believe the card to be a brick, it doesn't really do a lot for the deck. It is a low scale, which is cool, but it restricts you to not summoning your Metalfoes, all these different things. I don't want there to be a lot of Yang Zings in my deck that I can't normal summon and flow down to Jiaotu with, is honestly the thing. It might have a place in the Dinglong post-invasion Vengeance build, but as of right now, I don't play it in my current build, simply because I believe it to be a brick, you know. Already maxing out on Zephyr is because of Pot of Desires. We definitely do not want to increase my chances of just drawing non-summonable Yang Zings that just don't float into anything. But anyway, so you add Silvered because this is going to be the level 3 that you're going to Pendulum summon and actually make your Herald of the Arclight with your Chiwen. So, should be pretty obvious from here. You're going to overlay these two into your number 38, Hope Harbinger, Dragon, Titanic, Galaxy. And then from here, you have a Pendulum scale active, and you have at least one Zephyr in your extra deck. So you Pendulum one Zephyr, and you Pendulum summon a Silvered. Zephyr will trigger, allowing you to search for Zephyr Divine Strike. If you already had a Zephyr Divine Strike, if you played multiples, and you could always just search another one, because you are going to guaranteed have both Zephyr in the extra deck, because you're only Penduluming one, so one is staying here. And then from here, you just synchro with your Silvered and your Chiwen. Chiwen gets banished into your Herald of the Arclight, and then you synchro with your Jiaotu and your Zephyr into Void Ogre Dragon, because Jiaotu is your Dark Tuner, Zephyr is a level 6 non-tuner, and you're able to just do this. And so at this point you have your settable, which you can set, and then you set your Zephyr Divine Strike, and you have 4 negations. Now, like I said, if you have some sort of hand that can't support you setting your entire hand and getting your entire hand gone, you can very easily make Cypher Lord Omega instead of Void Ogre Dragon. And honestly, it's debatable that might actually just be better, because of the fact that it will allow you to recycle your banished Chiwen, which can also then just be recycled back into the deck off of something like a Surge Yang Zing Path next turn, off of like Zephyr and stuff. But one of the very notable things about this first turn combo string is that it's one of the few that doesn't actually use all 3 Boxias and yields a very, very favorable result. Like you see, you end with 7 total cards. You end with 5 cards committed to the board, and you end with 2 scales. Now this is considering that you open with 5 cards, so it is an overall +2. There's another variation of this combo that requires a little bit more specific cards, but it does end in a +3 overall. But still, this is very, very solid, especially for just Metalfoes plus Yang Zing cards. The only specific cards that you need are, you need a summonable, and then you need the Chiwen. But like I said, you could very easily swap this out for Cypher Lord Omega, and it is arguably better because it takes the card out of their hands, and it does function the same way as Void Ogre Dragon does, in the form of it negating cards per se, but it doesn't really negate them, it just takes it out of the hand, so it's not a resource. So you're then between, you're playing your 3 negations against their 5 cards rather than 4 negations against 6. So it's very subjective. But one of the key things, like I've already said, is that you don't summon the 3rd Boxia. You still have a Boxia in your extra deck, which means that the very next turn you're capable of summoning another Boxia, depending on what Yang Zing you draw. If you have another Yang Zing if you have Yang Zing Path set, there's multiple different things that you can actually do to trigger yourself into getting into another Boxia, as well as the fact that you just get to always Pendulum Summon this and just draw the Yang Zing Path. There's multiple different outlets that this deck goes down once you start getting into the turn 2 basis, after you've like stunned your opponent with, you know, a board full of negations. You're very much capable of just melding anything the way you want to meld it into a play to dismantle whatever they're trying to like use as their last line of defense, I guess you could say, before you just absolutely just push their throat in with all of these cards. But yeah, like I said, Void Ogre Dragon is not a card I particularly like, simply because it does heavily influence how you're going to be playing your game, because you have to keep your hand empty, which is why I'm saying that you could just make Cypher Lord Omega in this case. There's also some different combos where you can just make Coral Dragon and you can make Crystal Wing, to allow that to be a thing, but I'm going to be focusing on those in a different video, maybe, probably, who knows. But as for right now, I'm kind of happy where this is sitting. So this is just another one of those Yang Zing combos. It's, like I said, a little bit more specific than the previous 2 that I showed, because it does require you to have drawn the Chiwen, as well as a card that can go down into Jiaotu, so you can preserve Chiwen's floater effect to summon itself from grave. But overall, this is really strong, and this is definitely better than anything the Zephyra, the Odd-Eyes Zephyra Yang Zing deck could ever do. That deck had like 5 card opening hands that could end with 3 negations, and those were like the best it could do. This deck is inherently more consistent and just has more powerful interactions that you can do to allow yourself to achieve more negations, and as well as being able to play better with less Yang Zing cards, which is something that I will eventually get into as well, in terms of having combos that have less than 3 Yang Zing cards, because there are some that do exist and they can generate negations as well as board presence and clear boards. But that will be something I will be getting into a little bit later. But other than that, as always guys, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe to all the nonsense you usually do. Let me know what you guys think about this combo and the Yang Zing Metalfoes deck in general in the comments down below. I'm always curious to see what your opinions are of the videos I put up and stuff like that. And if you like these sorts of things, if you like these combo tutorial videos, keep giving them likes and keep commenting on how much you enjoy them, and they will probably continue to be a thing, both with this deck and with other decks in the future. I've got a few other projects I want to start working on in terms of videos, maybe some guides for decks from the Dark Illusions, because, you know, that's something I could easily do and organize and edit. But other than that, depending on whether or not those happen or not, I have no idea. But other than that, like I've already said, thanks for watching as always, and as always guys, take care.